So for those that are unfamiliar with frequency separation is a form of editing where we have a high pass layer that preserves textures. So in our case specifically skin texture. So as we zoom into this image, what we want is to preserve some of the textures that are here, so the pores, but we want to kind of smooth out the color of her skin underneath. So this patch here, we have this real big bright patch, and then we have this kind of darker red patch, and we just kind of want to blend those a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the spot heal brush, which is J, and then we're just going to kind of go through and clean up a few spots. Alright, so now we've got this nice clean area to work with. The next step is to play the action. So when you download the action, you'll just double click on it and that'll load it into Photoshop. And then if you come into Actions under the Play tab here, or if this isn't showing up, you come up to Window and click on Actions, make sure that's checked. Then we'll scroll down, we'll get to our frequency separation action. We'll click on that and we'll click play. And then we want to click continue. And now what we're doing is this is the blur layer, so for the color layer. And what we want to do is we want to pay attention to how that blends here. So what I like to do is I'll bring it all the way back down until I can start to see a little bit of texture, and then I'll slowly start to back that back up until those colors start to blend and I can't really see definitive areas. And then I usually call that good. Now if you come too low, we see the texture, and that's not what we want. And if you go too high, so say we came up here to 60, that's too blended, and that's really hard to work with. So you want to have a nice balance where you can see shape fairly well, but it's pretty blended. So I'm actually going to bump this up to about 5 and call that good. And you'll click OK, and it's going to go ahead and continue playing that action. And then you'll click OK. Alright, and so what that did is it created a folder for us over here under our layers. So we have a high frequency and we have a low frequency. So now if I turn off our low frequency, this is what our high frequency channel looks like. Okay, so this is really edge definition, but as we zoom in we can see all this skin texture, all these pores that are still going to be there, which is what we want. And now if we turn on just the low frequency without the high, we see we have this blur. Okay, and this is where we're going to blend our colors. So I'm going to turn those back on. Now clicking on the low frequency, I'm going to select the lasso tool, which is with the L key, or if you come over under the third one down and right click, you'll click the lasso tool. Okay. Now what you want to do is you want to select an area that you want to blend better. Okay, so I'm going to select this area right here. Okay, and then what you do is you right click and you'll feather. Now how much you feather depends on the type of area that you're in. If I'm in an area that's right here next to the hair, I don't want to feather too much. Okay, and so what feather does is it selects a select number of pixels on either side of that line. So if I selected right here and I feather and I select 5 pixels, it's going to select 5 pixels this way, 5 pixels this way. And so if I go really far and I do 30 pixels, we're going to start picking up this color and texture from the hair, which is not, again, not what we want. So in an area like this, you really want kind of a lower pixel count. So for her cheek right here, we can do a little bit higher. Since it's so close to the lips, we won't go too high. But right around 20 is a good place to start. We'll click OK. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come up to Filter, come down to Blur, Gaussian Blur, and then now what we're going to do is increase this radius until we're getting the effect that we want. And so you'll see, as I turn this preview on and off, what it does to that cheek. When I turn the preview on, it's nice and smooth right in through here. And so what I usually do is anywhere between 20 and about 30 pixels is usually kind of my sweet spot, so I'll click OK. Sometimes if I know that I'm going to be spending a lot of time with certain areas, I'll go ahead and just set this right at the middle at 25. Right in between that 20 and 30, and I'll click OK. And the reason that I do that is now I can just do Shift Command F for Mac or Shift Alt F on PC and use those quick keys to automatically play that filter. So see how it was smooth here. Now let's say I want to come right here. So I make that selection, I'll feather right around that 20 again, and then Command Shift F or Alt Shift F. And it'll do that. And so now, as you can see, between her right side and her left side, we have this nice smooth texture in her color skin, or in the skin color, but we still have the details of the pores of her face. So for this area I might bump down to say 10 pixels because I don't want it to extend so far. We'll do that filter, Gaussian blur again, and Command D, and so now you can see it again, smooth transition, nice clean skin, versus over here where we have these harsh tones. But this is a great skin retouching technique, again, because we get these nice smooth skin tones, but we keep the skin texture so it looks realistic. So now if we back out a little bit, a little too far. You can see nice smooth versus a lot harsher. So, alright, well thanks guys. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, and have a good one.